So here we are. I've got my background, my concentric circles all painted in, and you can see that they've dried really quickly and they've kept those vivid colours because I use the acrylic inks, and I'm hoping that that's going to come through beautifully when I put the print over the top. Now it's time for the printing plate, but I need to make sure it's the right size. So I've measured my concentric circles from the outermost edges to find the diameter of my circle, and it's just under 22 centimetres. So I've created plates that are 11 centimetres by 11 centimetres square, and that's so that when I print with them from the middle, they will come just beyond the outermost edge of my concentric circles. This area here I could have painted, but I've chosen to leave it blank because that will give me yet another pattern underneath my print that will jump out at me because it's so pale, and it's just a different way to do them. So you can either leave it blank or you can paint it. That's entirely up to you. And I'm just checking now that my printing plate will fit. So I've lined it up with my compass point in the middle, and I've drawn some lines at either end to make sure that it fits, but also so that when I come to print I know where to put it. And I've just made sure that it will fit in perfectly 4 times. If I'd accidentally created more of a rectangle than a square, it wouldn't fit. So each time I've drawn the lines just outside the circle so that I can rub them out afterwards to make sure that it's going to fit. And those are nice and light, those lines. I don't want them to be dark because I don't want them to show through my print. So now it's time to create the patterns on our print, our symmetrical design. And for this we're going to use line symmetry. I'm just going to draw around my printing plate because I want to create some rough ideas on paper first before I go to put them onto the plate. And I'm just going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner because this will be my line of symmetry. So one of the things that I thought might be quite fun to do is to use some Zentangle shapes. And there are so many different designs that you could use. I am particularly fond of spirals, and I know that somewhere I'm going to want to use a spiral in my design. I also quite like this shape, which is it's like a spiral, but it's coming out from the center. It would be good to put in some straight lines as well. So I could use a curved line around some other shapes. And then for a change, I could use some straight lines. I could even, if I wanted to, create a checkerboard effect. I do need to think about where I may decide to press down on my printing plate, because all the lines and the areas where I press down will create the white or the coloured areas on my actual print. So when we print, we won't see these lines as dark with the ink, we will see them as light, and they'll allow the colours to come through. So we want to have some blocked out areas so that the colours can shine through. So we're not just working with line, we're working with other things as well. And remember that everything you put on this side has to be translated onto that side. But I do have a bit of a trick for that, which we'll use in a little bit. If I'm really feeling confident, then I might want to consider creating a paradox triangle or paradox square. They always look incredible and aren't actually as hard to do as you might think. So I'm just going to start with pencil so that I can just be having a think about what I want to achieve. And I'm going to make these shapes a bit bigger because I really don't want them to be too small. If they're too small, then they will be really hard to draw into the safe print. And that then will be a problem for me, that I don't want to have to cope with. So I do recommend that you don't make it so tempting to add more detail and more detail and more detail, but sometimes the best designs are those that are quite simple. And with my Sharpie, I'm just looking at the areas that I will bring in. So these will allow the colours to come through. I finished my design now, and in the end I kept it really simple. All I did was draw 2 sets of parallel lines, and then to those I added some circles.